Okay, get this. By the end of 2025, if you're under 16 in Australia, you could be legally banned from having a social media account. We're talking about a world-first law, and it's probably one of the most aggressive moves any government has ever made to try and rein in big tech's influence over our kids. But here's the big question, right? Is this a radical, totally necessary step to protect a whole generation? Or is it a policy that's going to completely backfire and maybe even make kids less safe online? You've got the government on one side and the tech giants on the other, and believe me, they are on completely different planets when it comes to the answer. So first, let's dive into the government's side of the argument. For them, this isn't just about some new regulation. They see it as nothing less than taking back childhood from the super powerful grip of social media. And this quote from Communications Minister Annika Wells, wow, it really sums up their thinking. The government is basically saying, hey, this isn't about screen time. It's a defense against what they see as intentionally harmful designs that are baked right into these platforms. And this quote right here, this gets to the absolute heart of their case. They're arguing that things we've all gotten used to, like the infinite scroll, which its own creator called behavioral cocaine, those weren't accidents. They were deliberately engineered to get users, especially young users, hooked, all to maximize profit, no matter the mental toll. So you see, the government isn't just trying to fix one little problem. They're going after what they see as an entire system, a system where predatory algorithms can push a vulnerable teen down a really dangerous rabbit hole, where bullying can follow them right into their bedroom, and where their deepest insecurities are basically turned into a business model. And look, this isn't just some hypothetical fear. The government is pointing to this really stark number. 7 out of every 10 kids in Australia have already seen harmful content online. A statistic like that, well, that's a huge reason this policy is even on the table. Okay, now for the other side of this story. The tech companies, with Google really leading the charge, are sounding the alarm. They're arguing that this law, as well-intentioned as it might be, could have some really dangerous unintended consequences. And this is where it gets really interesting. It really gets to the heart of the whole conflict. The government says the law is a shield. But Google says the law breaks the shield. I mean, how can both of those things possibly be true? Well, Google's logic goes something like this. If you ban kids from having accounts, they're not just going to stop using the internet. No, they'll just watch videos in what's called a signed out state, basically as anonymous ghost on the platform. And when they do that, all the parental controls, all the content filters, and even the safety features like take a break reminders, poof, they just vanish. Okay, so you've heard both sides of the argument, but how would a ban like this actually work? It's not as simple as showing your ID to some bouncer at a digital nightclub. It's way more complicated than that. First things first, let's just bust the biggest myth floating around out there. No, you will not have to show your driver's license to log into Instagram. In fact, the law includes a massive fine. We're talking almost $50 million for any platform that even tries to force users to upload government ID. The reality is actually a lot more complex. Platforms will have to use the literal mountains of data they already have on you. They'll look at all kinds of signals, like when your account was made, who you're connected to, and your activity, all to make a pretty educated guess about your age. For example, if your account is 10 years old and you're posting about your mortgage, yeah, they're going to be pretty sure you're not 15. So the enforcement isn't just a switch that gets flipped. It's a gradual process. The day after the law kicks in, Australia's e-safety commissioner will start asking platforms for data on how many underage accounts they found and removed. This keeps happening month after month, and if a platform is found to have systemic problems, well, that's when the financial hammer comes down. And that financial hammer is absolutely huge. We're talking about potential fines of up to $50 million for these platforms if they don't do enough to get underage accounts off their service. It's a very clear signal that the government is not messing around. So let's zoom out for a second. What's the bigger picture here? This ban isn't just happening in a vacuum. It could be the very first domino to fall in a much larger global conversation about online safety for kids. Now, a common question everyone asks is about the whack-a-mole problem, right? If you ban kids from Instagram, aren't they just going to move to another, maybe less regulated app? Well, the government says it's ready for that. The list of banned services is dynamic, meaning it can be expanded at any time if they start seeing kids migrating to other platforms. But honestly, the ban itself might just be the opening act. The government is already talking about what's next, something called a digital duty of care. And this would be a fundamental shift. Instead of just kicking users off, it would legally require platforms to design their services to be safe from the very beginning, putting the burden of safety on the companies, not just the users. And make no mistake, the rest of the world is watching this very, very closely. From the EU to here in the US, governments everywhere are exploring similar ideas. Right now, Australia is the test lab, and what happens there, both the successes and the failures, could end up being the blueprint for digital laws everywhere. Which, of course, leaves us with one last big question. Is this the start of a global crackdown? Are we at a moment where governments are finally saying that when it comes to our kids' digital lives, the ones in charge should be parents and families, not powerful, invisible algorithms?